How to freeze your credit with all three bureaus. How to unfreeze. A credit freeze restricts access to your credit report. You can place a free freeze with each bureau online, by phone or by mail. What is a credit freeze? A credit freeze, or security freeze, blocks access to your credit reports, protecting against scammers' attempts to access your credit reports and open fraudulent accounts. When someone applies for credit using your personal information, a lender or card issuer typically checks your credit before making a decision. If your credit is frozen, the potential creditor cannot see the data required to approve the application. A credit freeze is one major way to help prevent identity theft and fraud. Even if a criminal has key information such as your birth date and social security number. Freezing your credit is free and won't harm your credit. How to freeze your credit with all three bureaus. Contact each of the three major credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian and TransUnion, individually to freeze your credit. Equifax, call the automated line at 800-349-9960 or customer care at 888-298-0045, or go online. Check out our step-by-step Equifax credit freeze guide. Experian, go online to initiate, or for information call 888-397-3742. Here's a detailed walkthrough on getting an Experian credit freeze. TransUnion, call 800-916-8800 or 888-909-8872, or go online. Read our TransUnion credit freeze guide. The quickest way to freeze your credit is online through your profile with each major credit bureau. But placing a freeze over the phone is also fast. Bureaus must place the freeze within 1 business day if you request it online or by phone, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You can also submit requests by mail. They have 3 business days to freeze your credit after receiving the mailed request. What information do you need to freeze your credit? Gather all the documents you will need before initiating a credit freeze. While all 3 credit bureaus have slightly different requirements, here is the information you will generally need to provide: social security number, date of birth, address. Depending on how you initiate the credit freeze, online, by phone or by mail, you might also need the following to verify your identity and address: copy of your passport, driver's license or military ID, copy of tax documents, bank statements or utility bills. If you freeze your credit by phone, be prepared to answer some authentication questions. 2. How long does a credit freeze last? A credit freeze stays in place until you lift it. You can unfreeze, or thaw, credit temporarily when you want to apply for new credit. How do you freeze your child's credit? Parents and guardians can freeze the credit of a child under 16. If you request a freeze for your child, the credit bureau must create a credit file for the child, assuming they don't already have one, then freeze it. In addition to supplying the information required for an adult credit freeze, you'll also need paperwork to verify the child's identity and proof that you have standing to freeze the child's credit. You can also freeze the credit of a spouse or incapacitated adult at all 3 bureaus. You'll need to provide the required documentation, copies of birth certificates, court orders and copies of social security cards, for example, and mail them to Experian, Equifax and TransUnion. Look for details online about this, as well as any downloadable freeze request forms, on each bureau's security freeze page, or contact the bureaus directly for assistance. When should you freeze your credit? If you're not actively shopping for a credit card or loan, freezing your credit is wise. Freezing and thawing your credit are free, and NerdWallet recommends that all consumers protect themselves in this way. If you think your data may have been compromised, for instance in a data breach, get a credit freeze as soon as possible. It's especially key if your social security number may have been disclosed. What are the cons of freezing credit? There are a few. Potentially, a freeze can give you a false sense of security. You may still be susceptible to fraudulent charges on an existing credit account if it's been compromised, or healthcare or tax refund scams involving your social security number. It's still important to check monthly statements carefully for signs of fraudulent activity. It can complicate creating a My Social Security account to track earnings, estimate future benefits, etc. The easiest workaround is to thaw your credit for a day so you can create your account online. If you want to keep your freeze in place, you'll have to use ID.me to make an account or contact your local Social Security office. It can be somewhat inconvenient, because you need to remember to lift the freeze when you want to apply for credit. That inconvenience pales in comparison to having to unwind fraud or identity theft, though. You may forget whether your credit is frozen. If that happens, there are simple ways to find out if your credit is frozen. Who can access your frozen credit reports? A credit freeze makes your credit reports inaccessible to most people. With a few exceptions, you can access your own records, including getting your free weekly credit reports. You can also check your free credit report summary and score from NerdWallet while your credit reports are frozen. Your current creditors still have access, as do debt collectors. Marketers can see your credit reports for the purpose of sending you offers. In certain circumstances, government or child support agencies can see them. You can still permit an employer or potential employer to check your credit, though the version they see omits certain details. Nerdy tip: you can request your credit report in Spanish directly from each of the 3 major credit bureaus. TransUnion, call 800-916-8800, Equifax, visit the link or call 888-378-4329, Experian, click on the link or call 888-397-3742. Consejo Nerdy: usted puede solicitar una copia de su informe crediticio, gratis y en español, de cada una de las 3 principales agencias de crédito. TransUnion, llame al 800-916-8800, Equifax, visit el enlace o llame al 888-378-4329, Experian, haga click en el enlace o llame al 888-397-3742. Should you get a credit freeze or credit lock? Both a credit freeze and a credit lock block access to your credit reports, but there are some major differences. Credit freeze services are mandated by federal law and are free, whereas a credit lock is a product offered voluntarily by a credit bureau, which may charge a fee. Equifax's credit lock is free. TransUnion offers a lock through its credit monitoring service for $29.95 a month. Experian's credit lock is available only as part of a $24.99 per month subscription package. Credit locks may offer convenience, such as being opened and closed with a finger swipe on an app, but they offer fewer legal protections than a freeze. How to unfreeze your credit? Go to the credit bureau website and use the account you used to freeze your credit to unfreeze your credit with that bureau. You may also be able to unfreeze your credit by phone or mail if you can provide certain verifying information. If time is of the essence, the fastest way to unfreeze your credit is online or by phone. That request must be granted in 1 hour by the bureaus. Unfreezing your credit by mail takes 3 business days from when the bureau receives your request. Reasons for unfreezing your credit: while it's a good idea to keep your credit frozen all the time, there are some circumstances where you might need to thaw your credit temporarily. Primarily, you'll need to unfreeze your credit if you're applying for a new line of credit. Whether you're in the market for a new car, mortgage, rental apartment, or cell phone, your credit report will be pulled by the lender to assess your ability to pay. You might also need to unfreeze your credit if you plan to use a buy now, pay later service while online shopping. For example, Affirm, one of the most popular BNPL platforms, instructs applicants to temporarily lift credit freezes at all bureaus where they've placed them.